We are at the Gilbert Riparian Preserve, and I am here with a friend, so it's not just me for once. Hello! Hi! This is my setup today. I've got my Stablo Easel, and I've turned it to the side so that I can do a horizontal image. I am going to use my landscape set of Faber Castell Pitt brush pens and the corresponding fine liners. And that is a lot of colors, but it is a color curated set, so I should be able to keep it from looking crazy. And there's this very cool egret out there. I may try to get him in the shot, although I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so we are ready to go back and eat some tasty food. So this is what I have so far. I will finish some things at home. I want to add like a little bird right here, one of the egrets. And yeah, this is a fun one though. I had fun doing this. All right, it's later in the evening, and so I'm going to get this finished up. I was cracking up because I flipped the page because I was going to spray the back of it because it's curling up. And there's a smashed bug. That's hilarious. So anyway, I'm going to have to deal with that. But, so on this, I was playing with the idea of trying to put certain things more in focus than others. And, you know, things that are farther away, less in focus, etc. So I'm going to continue working on that idea. I'm going to add in some more branches because I didn't get all that done. I'm going to play around with this area a little bit more. I'm going to add a bird. And I'm going to fix, there's some water reflections that are kind of missing. Yeah, so I'm just going to add more detail to this. I already like where it's going, so I think that, you know, I'm just going to have more fun with it. Okay, I am finished with this. I was starting to get to the point where I was like feeling like I was gilding the lily. I really liked how it looked in the beginning where it was kind of loose, and I feel like it looks maybe a little overworked in some places now. I don't know. Maybe I'm being overly critical, but some of these places, like over here, for instance, the kind of hot press nature of this paper is being rather unforgiving. And you can see where I've had to go back over it and change things. And it's like, this paper looks good when you have like one or two passes. And if you start doing more, you just start to see it. So, yeah, I mean, this area over here would have looked better on cold press paper. So that's just kind of what you get, you know. But anyway, beyond that, I feel like I did achieve the kind of differences and kind of distance and perspective and focus that I was going for the most part. I was trying really hard to kind of think about where I was directing the eye. And I really do like how my little egret turned out. And it's funny because that took me like 5 seconds. And it's like my favorite part of this whole thing. You know how that goes. I ended up adding some more branches around to kind of better reflect what it was really like in there. I added some shadowing down here, more branches too. I like how some of this water reflection turned out, and some of the rest of it I feel like looks a little labored and maybe looked better like when I first did it, but you know. These branches over here I kind of added and then I softened them because I didn't like how much they drew the eye over there. It was too much. So, you know, this is the kind of thing where if I had it to like do from scratch where I was trying to make like a finished art piece, I would make some different decisions, but I still think it turned out cool. And I think the initial painting that I did on site was cool. And so I'm happy with it. All right, well, I am tired. It has been a long day. And who knows what I'll do tomorrow. So today I am going to go outside and I'm going to do 3 different drawings, maybe 2. I'm still deciding actually how many I'm going to do. At least 2 different drawings of the clouds that are outside because it is trying to rain. So I am going to draw some squares on here in order to draw on these little stencils I created. I'm going to draw some squares on here to draw inside of. And I'm going to use my sepia ink and my water brushes filled with sepia ink dilutions. So this should be fun. Alright, so I'm going to paint the clouds from this viewpoint. I'm going for 3 times. We're going to try. Some of these I might be painting after it's dark. We'll see. Okay, so I had to move to hide under the patio, except this overhang that I have has like holes in it, so I'm not going to be able to sit here much. It's so funny. It's like 45 minutes later, so obviously the sky is just like gray. So I'm going to paint like just a wash in the background. My head's getting dripped on. It's hilarious. And then I'm going to paint these trees again. It is about 7:20 in the evening now. It's looking very Pirates of the Caribbean kind of out here tonight. So I'm going to draw this part by headlamp, which works surprisingly well, actually. Since I'm basically working in a monochrome, I think it won't really matter too much. So, very cool. Well, I spent like very little time painting compared to the ridiculous amount of time I spent waiting for things to just dry. So, I hadn't really taken into account the fact that since it was like going to rain and then did rain, that everything was just going to be damp for a long time. I'm used to things just drying like that here, and that does not what happened today. So, this is what I drew at 5:45 before sunset. And it was very windy. There were a lot of clouds. It was all kind of blowing in, getting ready to happen. And then this is what I drew at 6:30 right around sunset. And this is right about when it started to rain. And so the clouds were fully in and the wind had stopped blowing. It was drizzling at that point. And then this is what I drew at 7:23. And at this point it was dark and it was still raining and there wasn't any wind. And the clouds were still pretty stationary like that. This was an interesting idea, and it's kind of something that I would like to play around with more. I think it would be really cool to go somewhere for like almost like a whole day or several hours and kind of like do different paintings at different times of the day. Maybe with some color, you know, it's a little hard when you're doing this kind of like monochrome thing to kind of like really convey the big changes. But it's definitely interesting. It'd be fun to do this like in a concertina notebook, for instance. And my favorite part was doing the palm trees, obviously. So I like all the movement in this one. I think that's like really fun. And I accidentally made this palm tree like too big, but it kind of just looks like it swayed towards you a little bit, which they definitely were moving around quite a bit. I have pretty tall palm trees up there. And then, but if I had to pick my favorite, it's these ones. I think these ones turned out pretty cool. They have some interesting depth and shadow to them. I like the shapes a lot. I really do like drawing palm trees. They're just fun. And they work really nicely in ink. So that was interesting. And it wasn't too like stressful. It just took a while. Like I was doing this over several hours because it really did just take a million years. And so, okay. So this one, I was able to do most of it out there. It started to drizzle right when I was getting ready to do, I think, this one. So I had to go under the overhang to do that one. And then this one, I stood outside and started doing some of it and ended up having to go back inside because there was nowhere I could stand. It was raining pretty hard. There was nowhere I could stand without getting rained on and wet. And obviously this is not waterproof, so that was not going to work. And then this one was the same way. I went outside and peeked at it basically and like ran back in. It's kind of funny. So that's one of those times where I kind of wish that I was like, in a car. So we have some interesting weather coming up. So tomorrow it's supposed to be okay, and the day after also. But later on in the week and starting next week, it is supposed to get up to like 105. I'm shocked. That is not good news. It's March. It is not supposed to be anywhere near 100 degrees yet. Like that might happen at the end of April usually. This is really weird, honestly. Like St. Patty's Day, it's going to be like 104. I'm just kind of horrified, honestly. And I mean, that's going to make this month just really hard. I'm not a morning person, and I feel like I'm going to have to do a lot more painting in the morning, and that's just not really going to be very much fun because I'm just not at my best at that hour. I may try to take some little road trips up north, maybe to Prescott or something. I don't know. Yeah, that was just not news I was happy about. So let's hope the forecast is wrong. Let's hope they overestimated how hot it's going to be. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I'm still deciding about what's going to happen tomorrow. I think I'm going to play it by ear based off the weather. Today I am at the Usery Mountain Regional Park. And it's actually a nice day today. It was like a little bit windy, looking a little stormy earlier, but it's kind of calmed down. And clouds usually mean an interesting sunset. So I'm here to paint the sunset today. And I've brought all sorts of things with me because I didn't know where I was going to sit. But since I'm at a table, I won't have to bring half of that out, which is nice. So I am going to use my Daniel Smith paints. I have not allowed them to tip over this time, so hopefully I won't have any silly nonsense with the pans. And I've brought the Magnani 1404 in the cold press. And last year when I was using this, the paper was in a pad, and the pad was only attached on the one side. So it was all curling up. It was driving me crazy. So I went and made it into a block. And you can see there's still a little bit of paint from last time I used it, but I'm just going to work with it. So, yeah, I think it'll work much better being in this block. I'm kind of excited about it. It looks like I did get like a little bit of glue on the edges. So I'm going to have to assume that the edges of this paper are going to be not used. So I will keep that in mind when I'm sketching. But I'm going to go through and I'm going to use my, Sakura micron pens to sketch the scenery. And then I'll be ready for the sunset. When the sunset comes, then I'll paint in the colors. So that's usually my strategy here. I don't think I should really need to leave any highlights when I'm doing it. So here we go. This is my sketch, and I'm actually done a little bit before the sunset, which I didn't really expect. So now I'm just waiting for the sun to go down and for the colors to happen, because right now it's not very exciting. This is where I got with it. You can see that one of the colors I use, this coral color, it has a little bit of white in it, I believe. It's like a pastel. So it covered over some of the black pen. So when it dries later, I will go back and add more black pen to fix that problem. I also mixed in like the Bordeaux color, and it did some cool stuff. And Yeah, I mean, this sky has been interesting. It's not like the most amazing sunset we've ever had, and it's changed a few times here. But, yeah, that was fun. It was fun to actually have enough time to do this, which I never seem to. So, I'm going to try and pick this up and get a picture of it. We'll see if I can get that to work. Let's try it here. So, I've been using my headlamp, by the way. That was the light I was holding up. It's kind of funny. I don't know if it's like too wet. Okay. Oh, it does not want to see it. That's funny. There we go. My husband has pulled the light up so you can get an idea. All right, I have given this a good long time to dry. It's been a few hours. So since I glued this down last year, it's nice and flat. Isn't that wonderful? So I'm just going to go in and I'm going to fix a few things. So like I said before, the coral reef color does contain some titanium white. A lot of these pastel type colors do. It helps them look smoother on the page. But this is the area up here where there was already paint from like the last time I painted something. It came from another piece of paper and I just left it. I don't feel like this needs to be super neat and perfect, so I'm fine with it. And there are a couple places too where like the green from the saguaro bled over. You know, what do you do? So I want to go in with some pen and fix that right there. And I want to add just a little bit more black right here to fix the fact that it just looks like it just kind of ends. And I'm wanting to maybe add just a hair more color in here. It's a little bit light. I haven't decided yet though. I think I will leave that to the end and I'll make a judgment call after. So the main thing that I actually wanted to do besides fixing this was that I want to take this saguaro and add a few more shadow details to it. There were some things that I was actually just having a hard time seeing because the sun was so bright in my face, like some details in here that I kind of missed that I think would make it look more interesting. And there's also just, it's looking pretty flat because these are all ridges and they don't look like ridges because there's a little bit of shadow missing. And it really comes down to the fact, I was talking to my husband about this, like when you're doing watercolor, if you need to do any kind of sunset that has like multiple colors in it, if it's the kind of thing that really would work better if you did it in layers where layers had time to dry in between, it's really hard to do it plein air. It's just, you just don't have time. The sunset just goes by so fast. I actually think this sunset turned out great considering what I did. And basically it was just smearing a lot of color on a damp page and just hoping, like I painted like a lot of the blue on there before. So the blue was already dry. And the yellow was mostly dry. And there was already like a layer of coral and I was painting another layer on top. I basically painted a lot of, I painted coral, the coral reef color. I painted, what is that color? Bordeaux is another one that I added in there. And you can see it in some places. And then the third color that I added is that Pyrrole orange. And I just kind of kept smearing them in there together and hoping it would work. And it did, actually. It worked pretty well. It is pretty close to what it looked like. And so I'm not unhappy about that. So, I think there were some spots in here that worked really well and some other spots that I would have done better if I had been able to like have time. But I'm trying not to kill it with too much color though. I like, the little white spots and everything in here, I think give it like a certain vibrance and energy. And so I don't want to like just destroy those. So I'm going to try and like add what I need to add, but not overdo it. I'd rather have it look a little loose than have it be overdone. So I do have some pictures of this when it was still like more lit. So I'm going to use those as an option to look at. Yeah, I'm going to get going on this. right, I'm done with this. I think it's pretty good. I like it. I think it's a good mix of like a good likeness, but also being kind of like a little bit like fun and impressionistic and not too like exact. Yeah. This is a fun one, and I think it does kind of feel like what it really felt like out there. I feel like I'm finally kind of getting the hang of how much water I need to use when I'm kind of trying to do these more cold press things. I also like the texture of this paper and how it interacts with the pen. I think it creates a cool look. It's probably tearing up my pens, but you know. Oh well. Yeah, so not sure what my goal is next. All right, today I'm at the Gilbert Riparian Preserve, and it is about 5:52, so sunset is at 6:30. So I'm kind of waiting for the sun to go down a little bit more to get some more interesting lightings. Right now the lighting's kind of, there's not many colors to look at. Hoping those colors will come from the sky a little bit, and I'll get a cool reflection on the water. I've actually drawn from, God, I think it was this spot before, like a couple years ago. Oh, hey, look, a quail. But I drew with pens. I just love quails. They're so cool. This place is just full of the coolest birds, I tell you. I just sit around and watch birds and bunnies all day here. So, yes, I'm just waiting a little bit. So I'm kind of in the same situation I was in yesterday, where it's like I'm going to have to do a mad scramble. And since I'm going to do oil pastels again, and this time I bought my professional ones, I really can't get started until there's a sunset there. So I'm just going to get ready. I'm going to get my materials out, and I'm just sitting at a bench, so I'm just going to make it work. I brought a toned canvas board. I like this one. It's the Sahara color from Creative Mark Pro Tones. And it kind of matches the color of the dirt in Arizona, so I think it makes a nice toned background. And I brought my Cray-Pas Specialist, which are the professional version of the Cray-Pas oil pastels, and these are like hard oil pastels. So I'll be using those for most of the base layer, and then I will pull in my Sennelier ones at the very end as needed, since they are a lot more expensive than the Cray-Pas ones. But the cool thing about those specialist ones is that they are light fast rated, so I can feel a little bit more confident using them than some of those student ones. So yeah, we'll see how this turns out. All right, this is what I've got. It's rather impressionistic. It needs more work, but I'm running out of light, running out of time, and I need to be able to use the Sennelier ones on top, and I just don't have time to get them out right now. So we're going to finish it at home. All right, I'm back home, and now I can actually work on this. So it was interesting using these hard oil pastels on this surface. Kind of almost think that like I could probably use a little bit of pastel ground on this before I start. Like the surface could have been even rougher, I think. And I haven't really used these pastels to do a drawing yet, so I was still playing around with them and figuring it out. So I'm just going to keep working on it because it's not there yet. It's like I got the gist of some things, but I'm not loving what it looks like right now. All right, well, this is a painting I would refer to as a battle. I feel like I worked really hard to get it to do anything at all. God. So I kind of ended up just deciding I was just going to do it all with the hard pastels because I don't know, I'm exhausted today. I didn't feel like getting out another set of pastels. I'm not super in love with this painting, so I don't really want to use like my expensive ones for this top layer. I just didn't want to do it. So this is where we're at with it. We're just gonna go with it. I mean, I don't hate it. I just, it was kind of like not a super enjoyable process to make this all happen. Kept getting really frustrated. That duck was like stupidly hard. It shouldn't have been. I probably should have just done it with colored pencil, which is a thing you can do. There were several little details in here that I really just should have done with colored pencil, and I just I don't know, just did not want to get one more supply out. I was just having one of those days. I was like, I don't want to unbury this thing. I don't want to unbury that thing. I just can't do it. Can't do it today. So that's what happened. Yeah. I don't know. This canvas, I don't feel like this was the right surface. It didn't have enough texture, like enough of the right kind of texture to hold things. I found myself, it was too easy to just smear it around. Really, I'm just tired and want to go to bed. I am just not in the mood today. This is what happens in these month-long challenges. Sometimes you just have these days where you're just like, well, I did it. That's the way I feel about this right now. I don't hate it. I mean, I'm just not in love with it. It's not the most amazing thing I've ever seen, that's for sure. These are not bad pastels. I mean, they have nice colors and everything. They work well. They're just, this wasn't quite the right surface for them. This wasn't quite the right painting for them. I think personally, I really prefer actually the really soft oil pastels. I think those are more fun to work with. And I didn't really get my ideal spot when I was wandering around the Repair and Preserve looking for something. This wasn't quite what I was planning to do, not this area, so it kind of threw me too, which didn't help. I was having more fun watching the birds. Oh well.